Top of the morning to you guys and gals. Dave and Matt, the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, here for all of your fun and finger pointing, your picking and prodding, your questions, your potential answers when it comes to Aaron Rodgers and what Brian Gutekunst, Matt, UWL grad, shout out to the U, had to say, or didn't have to say, I should say, about Aaron Rodgers at the NFL Scouting Combine. For those that know that I'm definitely not an Aaron Rodgers apologist, today, as Ice Cube mentioned one time, is a good day. Who knows? Maybe we get into our top 5 Ice Cube songs today. I'm not sure. I put that up there as a potential. Matt?
Oh, we got into it a little bit last night. Thanks for letting me come on the couch a little bit yesterday.
Wow, that sounded really gross.
You know what I mean? I just
that sounded right, really awful. Thanks for letting you come on the couch.
Thank you for letting me oh man, thank you for letting me rest or take some time away. I have too many sets of keys with everything. I knocked myself out, so I was very grateful of you and John letting me come in and just chill out on the. How about chill out on the couch for a little time?
That's
before
better.
Ashley got done with work, so I appreciate it.
Wow, and that keeps sounding worse.
Yeah, I get you. Here's a true story, and I don't know. Obviously, Goody's probably not listening, but true story at a previous established downtown. I actually had to crip walk him or basically carry him to the Radisson to the hotel.
Is that right?
True. I got him a little too drunk for his britches. He was in town scouting a safety back in the day.
We're breaking news here.
So Goody and my brother know each other. So that was one of the things. He came in and got him a little too imbibed, and he's a large man compared to me. So that was not the longest walk, but one of the heaviest walks I've ever had to do in my life from 3rd Street to the Radisson. Yeah,
it would have been probably even heavier than the walk of shame you would have done if you came on my couch right before Ashley got home.
I don't think I would have made it. I'd probably go through a window, I'm guessing, first, my friend.
Oh, my. We need more windows. That's all I'd have to throw you right out the front door. Listen, if you want to come on my couch, just make sure I'm not there and clean up after yourself, okay? That's all I'm going to say. All right, we've got Jason P1 Preacher up and at it this morning like, damn, Matt and Thomas from UW saying that he's feeling good on this hip-hop hump day. I know, guys and gals, I wish we had full music licenses to play hip-hop. It's the internet. It changes just a little bit, but we still celebrate, believe me, in this house, hip-hop hump day. Thomas from UW, Matt saying Aaron Rodgers does not seem to be returning, and boy, do we have a lot on this. Coming up this morning, Mike Schmidt going to be jumping aboard the Sports Carnival Carousel early at 8:15. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk to Coach Schmidt for an extended period of time because we didn't have him on the program last week. We've got a lot to unpack with him, including Matt's new wrinkle here, the 5 seemingly unconnected but potentially interconnected questions. We want to talk about the XFL, USFL, and where Matt really thinks, or where Mike, I should say, really thinks his players could see a potential opportunity. And then, of course, as mentioned, there is a lot to unpack with Aaron Rodgers and what the Green Bay Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst did not say specifically yesterday at the NFL Scouting Combine. We do have a poll question for you guys and gals on our Facebook group page, our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney. Do you think the Packers really want, Matt, the Aaron Rodgers saga to continue? Do they really want Aaron Rodgers to come back? We know he's an all-time Hall of Fame quarterback. We know that. First ballot, for sure. One of the top 5 greatest throwers of the football and league history. But he's near 40. The Packers do have another guy they drafted in the first round. They didn't make the postseason last year. And don't forget, the way the season ended, and Brian Gutekunst talked about this a bit, was really, really lackluster. You had a win and you're in opportunity at home versus the Lions, and you put up 16 points.
Right.
Okay. That says something right there in and of itself. The thumb injury, cool. We'll give him a pass for some early games. But a win and you're in scenario with the Detroit Lions at your house and you lose, I'm sorry, as a GM too, I would reconsider. So we've got lots to cover with Mike.
I would say
lots to cover.
I would say no, just on what would happen in the locker room. We have Joey Blatz checking in. Good morning, Joey. I know you're excited to see Coach Schmidt, so thanks for checking in with us, brother. But just to answer this on Aaron Rodgers, I would say no, just on that aspect of I don't want him in my locker room.
That's something too. That's something to be considered. And I think that if you're the Jets, the Packers, the Raiders, whoever you are, if you're looking at Rodgers, is this guy going to be all in it to win it? This is something the Packers have to uncover, and we'll see. Rodgers, according to Brian Gutekunst, guys and gals, has still not communicated past a text message or two. Maybe he says something today. I'm not counting on it. We'll have to find out.
And we brought it up last week, too. Imagine if he does go somewhere else and he's all in with a different team. It is going to lose. Packer fans are going to lose their mind.
Absolutely.
It's too much to think about in the Packer Nation. I think it's going to happen either way, one way or another. I just hope everybody's prepared for whether he comes back or whether he doesn't, because that's not up to us as fans. It's not up to us as viewers, but especially as Packer fan, Packer Nation, something is going to change. And I hope everybody's prepared one way or the other.
This is Wisconsin. Nobody's ever prepared for change.
But they went through Brett Favre already. So I guess, it's a second go around.
I don't think that, because here's the thing. You've got a whole generation of people, fans. We've got Rob Dog. We've got Thomas. They didn't go through that. This is a first time for them. Well, you got to realize that generationally now, we've got a whole new group of Wisconsin fans that aren't ready for change. We don't need to get hung up on that. They're not going to be ready for the change. We know that. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be in it to win it with another team? That's a big question.
Yes, sir.
That is a big question, right? Like, we just don't know.
Yep.
All right, what we do know is we've got a lot to talk about this morning, and it's not just Aaron Rodgers related, because we've got some other good stuff to run down, including how the Milwaukee Bucks are right now the best team record-wise in the NBA. Giannis last night, sterling in return. Drew Holiday continues to be that dude. Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, all put it together for the Bucks, who needed a comeback victory against the Nets. Stick around. We're back in about 60 seconds here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Yes, Tony and Brian, Preferred Insurance, downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'll be heading into the office to see you fellas at about 11:15 this morning. Matt, going to switch over all of my insurance to Preferred Insurance because, again, they choose from all the nation's top carriers, right? Give me the opportunity to pick and choose my best prices, which includes renter's insurance here on the Trauma Center studio, insurance for both cars. Then we've got some other things that we'll be talking about. Again, Preferred Insurance, your auto, your business, your home, and flood insurance provider downtown on 4th and I think it's 4th and King Street, right there on the corner of 4th and King.
Well, and I guess I should say this isn't any knocking in insurance, and I'm stealing a line from Chris Rock. Insurance is just in case shit happens.
Oh, yeah.
And you always need to have it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's mandatory for a lot of things, right? Like you drive a car because you get a license. So driving's technically an illegal activity, right?
Do you think people should have a license to have kids?
You know, I hear where you're coming from on this one. I don't think so, because trying to restrict
What about Florida? Should they have a license in Florida to have kids?
Well, I don't think that any place in the South, to be specific, should be part of the United States.
All right.
I don't. I think that when they seceded from the Union, we should have cleaved them motherfuckers off like, a piece of cancer and left them to wallow and die, as opposed we gave them something called the Electoral College to make sure that they snuck through Strom Thurmond for another fucking 100 years.
Too much of the business up front. And
yeah, you're getting, see, that's one of those subjects where I'm going to get real particular, because I've got family from the South, but I do not believe that you should let insurrectionists and terrorists into your fucking House of Representatives. That is not a thing for me.
I think
that is not a thing.
That's a pretty easy way to agree on things all around. It's not a hard argument, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, my friend.
Yeah, we could go back and revise history. It's fun. We've been talking about, Italy a lot here, and a friend of ours, Gus Fimple, who watches the program, was with us, yesterday making a comment. He travels to Italy a lot, and he talks about the serious difference in Italy. They had a civil war. I can't recall what time. I don't study Italian history. Long and short of it, they essentially, from an economic perspective, cleaved the entire southern portion of the country off. The one that was in revolt, never let them have industry back. Poor today.
I guess it with the amount of mafia and everything else that's going on in Italy, Dave, you never know what the fuck's happening over
The
there.
amount of mafia that goes on here. Are you kidding me? Talk to
That's-
Joe Kennedy, fucking President Kennedy's dad, biggest drug dealer in, Prohibition era. The guy was sneaking booze in. I mean, these guys are all gangsters. You kidding me?
Oh.
All right. So moving on.
Yes, sir.
Moving on. We've got Mike Schmidt jumping aboard the program coming up at 8:15 this morning. I would like to encourage you, if you are somebody who enjoys a friendly wager or two, which I've got one going with Matty Ice right now about the Badgers, whether or not they make the NCAA March Madness tournament. If you want to make friendly wagers and do so with folks that perhaps aren't sitting here right in front of you, betus.com. Enter promo code Carnival. Get 125% free play money on deposit. Again, betus.com. Enter promo code Carnival when you make your initial deposit, and you get 125% free play money on deposit. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks are a team, Matt, that I've talked about quite a bit from a betting perspective and said this: I don't like to bet on the Bucks because I don't like to bet with my heart, not my head. Well, I'm going to have to start looking at this Bucks team in an analytical way, because even from a cover the spread perspective, last night they came into this game 8.5, 9-point favorites. They end up winning by 14. This was a comeback victory for Milwaukee. They were down, trailed by 10 at halftime, roar all the way back and put the hurting on a Nets team that we know, even though their record doesn't indicate it yet right now, is not going to be a playoff team.
Dave. I was surprised as competitive as a game as it was for you, brother. It just threw me off there. And as you were saying, I'm going to throw it right back to you. It was just a lot more. The Bucks had a bigger challenge than what I thought they were going to have.
Well, the Nets have been playing spunky ball since they've gotten rid of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. There's been some players. Mikal Bridges, who they got from Phoenix, a really good player, and he had a good game last night for Brooklyn. Cam Thomas was scoring 45 for a couple of games in a row he wasn't off the bench at that time. But listen, Brooklyn's not without their talent. What I was going to say is that the Bucks now are a team from a betting perspective that I'm going to have to start looking at a little bit harder, because they're starting to become a serious cover team. Again, I don't like to bet with my heart and not my head, but this team has given me a little bit of a pause now, and I'm starting to think, well, maybe we can ride these guys. From just a purely fan perspective and sort of an analytical perspective, this Bucks team now, though, is the best team in the NBA record-wise. Their record of 44-17 puts them half a game above the Boston Celtics and a full game and a half above the Denver Nuggets, who continue to play really incredible basketball as well. As a matter of fact, Nikola Jokic had another triple-double last night, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. You had a little stat factoid. We could even go stat of the day with it about Nikola Jokic. He's playing great. But this Bucks team is really clicking on all cylinders. Giannis 33-15, Drew at 14-8, and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton, who, by the way, is still coming off the bench, he's doing a really good job right now.
Well, and I'm finding that Jokic, I believe he was the 100th player in NBA history to have a triple. I can't remember. I'm going with it. Let me find that on that. I was going to go back to with what you had with Giannis, and I very love what he had to say about his maturity coming forward. They had that long streak. What was it, 2 years ago, and they won like 15 or 17 in a row. And my favorite thing about what Giannis said is, we didn't know what we were getting into back in the day. We were all a bunch of younger kids. Much of that core is still together today, and they're pulling off what they're doing in this streak. And it just goes to the maturity level that the Bucks have. It's great that they have a lot of the kids that were on the same team. They're grown up together, and I would not doubt Giannis at all. I love how he's coming out and the things that he's saying with not only his maturity, but people seem to be doubting the Bucks. And he's like, fuck it, bring it on. Let's go play ball.
Yeah, that's Giannis's mentality. That's why I've compared him, Matt, and I don't know if you've ever heard me make this comp with Giannis, but that's why I've compared him the most in today's game to Kobe Bryant, in my estimation, because Kobe was all about that smoke, right? He was all about that smoke, and he brought the fire every single night and every single day in practice. On both ends, and every single day. And it didn't matter where he was. Allen Iverson famously told a story about Kobe, where he comes to LA, they think they're going to go out to dinner, which they do, and then hit a club. No, after dinner, Kobe says, all right, man, where are you going to go? Allen tells him what club he's going to, after hours party. And Kobe says, well, I'm going to practice. Well, I'm going to hit the gym. That's what Giannis does.
And I love it. I mean,
that's what Giannis does.
We'll bring up the ladder situation. Was that in New York, where he's sitting there trying to do free throws after the game because he's just in the New York Knicks custodian staff took away the ladder, and he got into a little chippy, but he was out there after the game working on his free throws. So you can see it in the way he wants to win, and it's inside him, the passion he has for the game.
Yeah, he's just fantastic. And what a great representative for a Wisconsin sports team, a championship Wisconsin sports team. We love our sports here in Wisconsin. And joining the program, a famed Wisconsin athlete when he was playing baseball at UWL, also fullback at UWL, famed Wisconsin coach with Platteville and the Eagles, of course, here in town, now taking his talents to Aberdeen. Mike Schmidt joining the show. Mike, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, we're doing great. I'm actually, we're out on the road recruiting. So, yeah, we're in a little hotel room here. We're in parts unknown of the United States right now. We are, when you're out here, man, it's like you go like 8 hours and you're like, hey, you know what? This little school here or there's a guy here and he's only 3 more hours away. And so we're out in Colorado, and then we're like, well, we might as well go to Utah. We're out here. And then on our way back through, we're going to stop and see one of my former teammates at UW La Crosse, Eric Donoval, who is the head strength coach at the University of Wyoming. So it's like, hey, well, we're out here and we're, you're like, it's what's another 4 or 5 more hours or whatever. So we're kind of on the recruiting road right now. And that's, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun to be out here and try and find some dudes.
I love this. And this shows you exactly right now in real time what these guys do, like Mike Schmidt, like Matt Janis, with their off season, quote unquote. There's really no off season for a coach. Somebody might get an off season, but it's not you guys. Mike, we appreciate you joining the program early. We're going to have you on for a bit of an extended period today, if you're okay with that, because we didn't get to talk to you last week, and we've all been less for that.
How you feeling, Coach?
Oh, man. Yeah, I came down with shingles. I had shingles for the past, couple weeks here, and I got a head on my head up here. And so it's still kind of on my head. You can see a little bit on my face through. It kind of came down all the way into my eye.
You look beautiful.
I feel good now, but shingles at any age, I'm sure is not great. I got shingles at 37. I guess it's a thing. They've been seeing some more stuff. So let the conspiracy theories begin. Young, healthy, dashing young man gets shingles, probably from a shot or a vaccine that I got, I'm sure. But now I got shingles. I feel good now. I was feeling good last week. Probably could have come on. I looked like Quasimodo, I think, with some of the way I would have popped on the screen. I don't think anybody would have liked it. We would have thought we were going to biblical times with leprosy here. So I'm glad we were able to get on this week.
Well, much like Mother Teresa, I could have just healed you with a vicarious touch through the screen. But irrespective of that and my healing powers notwithstanding, I think you look beautiful. You look as handsome as the first time that I saw you giving a really impassioned speech on the podium for your introductory press conference at UW. That was my first introduction to Matt or to Mike Schmidt, Matt. That was the way that I saw him come in, which is one of the reasons why I've always been sort of captivated with you. You haven't given any quarter to bullshit coach speak, and you refuse to do so now. I know that Matt's got 5 questions for you. I've got to start off, though, with some non-bullshit coach speak. I want to jump right into this, fellas. Brian Gutekunst, an alumni of UW La Crosse, somebody who Matt mentioned to us earlier this morning, Mike, had to carry out of an unnamed bar to a hotel in downtown while he was on a scouting trip, completely blowing our GM out of the water as somebody who overconsumes. That's okay. This is Wisconsin. Yesterday, Brian Gutekunst, and I'm going to put the screen up for those that are watching us on our platforms. Yesterday, Brian Gutekunst at the NFL Scouting Combine, fellas, sounded a lot less than committal about Aaron Rodgers coming back. We'll read the quote. He is a player. When asked, do you want Aaron Rodgers back? He was put this direct question. Do you want Aaron Rodgers back? He says he's a great player, but until we have those conversations, I think all options are on the table right now, but we really need to have those conversations. We want what's best for the Green Bay Packers, what's best for Aaron. So we'll get to that once those conversations happen. Mike, your wife, beautiful, gets asked, do you want Mike Schmidt to be your husband? Says, well, he's a great husband, but we're going to have those conversations. She's telling you that she doesn't want to be with you anymore. Do you read this the same way that I am with Goody here, or where do you land on this? Because you've never given us the coach speak, so I want to hear your unfiltered thoughts on this.
Well, I think, first of all, that this is a big change in the tune of what we heard the last 2 years, that we want Aaron Rodgers back. Aaron Rodgers is our guy. This is our quarterback. We want Aaron Rodgers. And they were very clear on that. This is a very sharp turn from that. I think when you look at it from the outside, it's hard to look at that contract and say the Packers are just going to eat $40 million or $20 million this year, or whatever. I think it's 20 some million dollars this year. They're going to just eat that eat that cap. They're just going to eat that dead space and move on from him or not have him back. I don't think that's the case. It looks like they want to bring him back. The way they structured that contract, the $100+ million over the next couple of years, sure looks like they want to have him back on the football team in that term. But I think when you dig into this thing, Russ Ball, and I've said this with you a lot of times, Dave, there are a few organizations in the NFL that actually understand the cap. And this is one of them. And they know what they're doing. I think all of us looking to say, well, how can they move Aaron Rodgers because of this dead cap that's going to be on there? Well, the reason they're going to be able to do that is they're magicians. They do understand how to do this, and there's a way they're going to get this done. But the interesting part here now is that they need Aaron on board with that. Aaron's going to have to restructure this and do a solid. So it all comes down to if Aaron Rodgers wants to play number one, and assuming that the Packers want to move on and that Aaron Rodgers wants to move on, he's going to have to restructure this deal. I think that's where we're heading, is that neither one of them want him in Green Bay. Aaron doesn't want to be in Green Bay, and the Packers don't want him to be in Green Bay. There's no way that they drafted Jordan Love to be like, you know what, we're probably going to let this guy walk out the door here. We'll pick up his 5th-year option, but we're committed to Aaron Rodgers. And then what after those 2 years? And then what? What are they going to do after that? I don't think they made that move. I don't think they made that move. I don't think that they made that move. Hoping that they can just they carry this on into perpetuity. So I think Aaron, this looks like it's done. It looks like Aaron wants to move on as well with them and say, I want to move on. He needs to restructure it. Packers need to find a suitor. They have a number that they have to get to. They have to have something that is market price for them that they have to get back in turn, whatever that is. And then somebody has to work with the third part of that is somebody working with Aaron's team to structure a deal where he gets $105 million over the next couple of years, because he's not going to leave that on the table.
It doesn't feel like this is headed for anything but a stalemate at this particular moment in time. And maybe if Aaron wants to do a solid for the Packers, this will get over a lot sooner. And who knows, maybe that's where he's at. But you're right. I don't think he's going to leave money on the table. To answer the question on our Twitter and Facebook group page, when posed this, do you think the Packers want Rodgers back? Twitter's got 81.8% of the voters so far saying no. Our Facebook group page is 58-42 to the no as well. I think that both teams understand that this is probably, listen, it's going to end at some point, sooner rather than later with Aaron Rodgers' age. It's probably a good pivot spot right here, right now, because Brian Gutekunst, guys, further went on in this little press conference that he gave yesterday to talk about Jordan Love and said he's absolutely ready to play. He needs to play. This is part of his development that they know, the Packers know that he needs to play. And to your point, Mike, they didn't just draft this kid to watch him walk out the door with never getting anything out of him. So all of these things combined now really make me think that Rodgers either really wants to play, except for not in Green Bay, or he really doesn't want to play, which at a few different moments in time here, I completely poo-pooed because I thought no way would he want to go in to a Hall of Fame class with Tom Brady. Maybe that matters to this guy even less than we thought. And if that's the case, then really and truly all options are on the table, which I just didn't think was going to happen. But now that I'm starting to see different things come out, I just don't know anymore.
I think what Goody said yesterday is exactly it. I think all options are on the table. I don't think that trading, I think when he says it, though, I don't think trading Jordan Love is one of those options. I don't think that is not one of those options that's on the table. So they're going to keep Jordan Love and they're going to get ready to make him play. The question becomes, how do they get either out of this Rodgers situation and work that through and still keep Jordan Love? Because if they play out these 2 years, which unless Aaron Rodgers is going to restructure and do a solid for the Green Bay Packers, does anybody feel like that's going to happen? Because I don't feel like that's going to happen. So I don't think there's any chance that Aaron Rodgers does a solid here for the team. So I think it's trying to figure out how they would move him, who pays that money, how that works there. He's not going to do a solid for them. But the option that looks the most likely is that he plays those 2 years, and he's just done, and he either signs another contract, plays somewhere else, or the Packers are ready to go with Jordan Love. But at that point now, then the ball is back in Jordan Love's court. Is that what Jordan Love wants to do? Because his contract will be up, and there's nothing they can do to keep him there with them. So I think that's going to be the real the real question here is Aaron going to be able to restructure to move on? And but this doesn't look like this does not look like it's going to be really great and smooth. There's a lot of parts that I'm sure are moving out here. And I think that the Packers probably put that all options on the table, just like the Bears put out that the number one pick is for sale. Well, I tend to agree. I tend to think that when that's the case, you're probably putting an advertisement out there for a reason, that there's not a lot of suitors for that number one pick. It looks like maybe there aren't as many suitors as Aaron Rodgers as we may think there would be, that everybody just wants to move their entire franchise to get this guy. It kind of looks like maybe that's not the case, that they want to see if other teams will jump in to try to get Aaron now with that, because there's calculation in what they're saying all the time.
Well, and I guess, Coach, what I'm going to go with that line is, I think, what else is Gutekunst going to say? He usually could be fired at the end of this year, depending on how it's going to go. He could he's got to coach, or he's got to be the GM, and he's got to try and get it up there, but he's got to surround that team. And what else is he supposed to going to say? Sorry, I'm stumbling right now. He's got one. He could easily be fired just as anybody else. Now I'm going to ask on an organizational level, Coach, would you rather have to deal in this hypothetical situation, but what would be more difficult for you, to have a prima donna like Aaron Rodgers, or to work for somebody like Daniel Snyder?
For me as a coach, I'll take the prima donna all day over somebody that's not up there. I think that for me is like, that's paramount in how I make my decision on where I work at, and what I do is just the people that you're going to be around. What can you, especially as a coach, like, you need certain things in place to have success. You have to have people above you that are going to help you put things in place, that whether that's budget or whether that's players, at that level, it's players and things like that. It's all about ownership. I think that's why for me, I did the two hands to the head and couldn't believe it when I saw that Jimmy Haslam was involved with the Bucs. Because do you believe that Giannis wants to play for a guy like Jimmy Haslam, and everything that's out there about a guy like that? I have a hard time.
He's a 25% owner. That's just, only a quarter owner was Mark Lazary. So it's not all Jimmy.
I get it.
Jay Haslam. I get you. I mean, the guy's an arch criminal. I feel you, though.
And maybe he, again, it's mostly probably for his cash influx and can use that. And he's going to get a big investment on this, but you want to keep that guy out of there so that you can keep a guy like Giannis, because that owner that those guys play for, and the people that they want to be around. And certainly as a coach, the guy that you want to, I'll deal with a player all day long over having to deal with ownership like that. Can you imagine what it's like in Indianapolis? Can you imagine some of those places where you have that thing, that person meddling in what you do? 100% of the time, you'll take the prima donna player. That guy's not going to kill your career. The other guy might kill your career.
And I'll just end us on this with the respect to the Rodgers thing for at least the moment, because I do want to take us into a couple of different directions, fellas. But I still think that the Indianapolis Colts, just with all of the different ways in which the draft capital could potentially work, the team itself, I think that they're the best suited for Rodgers. He would go to another small market team where people would be real nice to him. Hey, maybe Pat McAfee lives in Indianapolis still. I don't know.
Maybe he has a house there.
He maybe does the show from Indianapolis. I'm not sure. I've been propositioned with a number of different trips to Indianapolis to show me how great it is, because I besmirched its fun time nature. I think that he would be really good in Indianapolis. Like, New York would eat this motherfucker alive. Las Vegas, he would get buried in the shuffle, to be honest. Like, there's so much going on in Las Vegas. He wouldn't get to be the biggest show in town. There are people way more famous that do residencies in Las Vegas. I think that Indianapolis actually fits the best. It's a weak division. He gets to go to the AFC. The Packers could get a better draft pick ostensibly. Anyways, we'll see what happens. The odds makers definitely don't have them in the driver's seat here. They've got the Raiders at minus 200, and that's probably because the Raiders are just a bad franchise, and they'd go out and do something crazy just to get Aaron Rodgers, which would benefit the Packers wonderfully. So who knows? Maybe we get there. All right. Let me get into something else that Matt and I have been talking about, and we wanted to get your take on this because we've seen the XFL explode with popularity. Okay. At least this year, 54 million viewers for the XFL's kickoff on Saturday. Mike, that's the 12th highest Saturday night rating in sports since they started doing ratings. Football definitely has an audience, and the XFL seems, and I know it'll go down as the season progresses, but it seems it's as if it's got enough tangent interest right now to keep this thing going for at least another couple seasons. Matt and I have been talking about the prospects of players like yours from NSU, Division II, lower rungs Division I college, what this kind of league and even the USFL means for your kinds of guys. And as a coach, where do you see this headed for your types of players?
Yeah, there's a lot more opportunities, obviously. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think you look over even in Europe and it's growing back there too. They're trying to put on a similar type model of what NFL Europe was. Now, NFL Europe was truly like a minor league kind of concept for guys to go and play and do that and develop guys who are practice squad guys and guys that could actually just get out and play some football. That's what we're seeing here now is these spring leagues are times for guys to play and keep developing. Are we at the point where it's going to become truly like a minor league system? I don't know. That's a lot of stuff that has to move around because they have to show viability first, that they're going to continue to last longer than 1 or 2 years before the NFL is going to dive in on something like this. But this is absolutely, it creates more opportunities for guys like our guys and Division III guys. 100% it creates more opportunities for those guys. But it also creates a lot of opportunities. There's a lot. I think you fail to understand how many players there are out there and how many good players there are out there. It's crazy. It doesn't change the fact that there's only 10 players that aren't on the roster right now somewhere that can play left tackle that are in the world. There's only 10 other guys on the planet who are walking around that have those kind of attributes to be like that. It's like the NBA. There's a very small number of people who can play in the NBA and do some of the things that those guys do. That will not increase, but it does create options for guys that are the wide receivers and the guys who are the DBs and the guys who are the skill position players. It creates a lot more opportunities for those guys to get on the field and get a chance to move up and get into the NFL because there's more opportunities there for that position. The left tackle situation, there's just only so many people who can do that part of it. There's only so many Justin Jeffersons, but there are a lot of Adam Thielens. There are a lot of these other guys that are out there. I mean, the best wide receiver in the Packers, the two best wide receivers for the Packers right now, one went to North Dakota State and one was an undrafted free agent from Iowa State. So there are lots of more opportunities for guys like that will be out there to move on to the NFL as well.
Well, and then Coach, obviously with all your travels that you're doing, reminds me a lot of what my brother has done with the Scout, being on the road all the time. You're seeing a lot of snow. I hope the travels have been good, especially being out in Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, wherever you've been traveling. With that, when you're out there scouting, obviously you have to be it's talent, and there's certain positions that you're looking for. Dave and I kind of got into this a little bit. I'm more of where this could be beneficial for the NFL would be more of the interior linemen, the defensive linemen, the offensive linemen. You don't want to see anybody. So like Jordan Love, who never would have made it, obviously, because he had Aaron Rodgers. I could maybe Dave said he could see him maybe playing in one of these leagues. Where do you stand on that as where it would benefit what position most do you think that these leagues would help out kids to, D2 kids, D3 kids, where they could actually go after their dream?
Well, I don't know that a concept like this helps them out as much as just giving them an opportunity to continue to play and continue to make a living and earn a paycheck and keep playing. And hopefully something breaks for you, use more time to develop. There's a reason that you're here. Either it didn't work out, there was potential, but you didn't develop fast enough at a Division I level. So you transferred down, or you just were missed in the process because you didn't develop early enough in high school to be a player that goes to that level. So, that there's a reason that you're at this level, and so it gives more time to develop for a lot of those players. But I think the concept of this, especially in terms of developing players to play in the NFL, is for the quarterback position. All these guys, they don't ever play. Jordan Love never gets to play, develop, play, get a chance to be a better football player. I think that's the biggest benefit is these quarterbacks can get a chance, especially quarterbacks. They get an opportunity to play in the spring and actually go out and work their craft. I think it's the same. I think it would be the same thing for linebackers, DBs. Of course, guys are going to get hurt. It's going to decrease some of the life that they have, the career life that some of those guys have, but at least they're going to get a chance to play. At least they're going to get a chance to develop. How great would it be if Jordan Love could go and play 12 games right now, stay healthy, and be ready? He's ready to go for next year. It's that minor league system concept where they can play and develop so that they're ready to go to the NFL.
Well, think about guys, even Trey Lance for the 49ers. What did he play? A handful of games when he was in college? Literally a handful
for the Jets too as well.
A handful of games. Zach Wilson for the Jets. There are guys that draft and are drafted on potential, which we understand that's a naturally occurring thing, and that won't change diametrically no matter what happens. But taking live bullets and live reps as a quarterback is something that I think you would be benefited by seeing. Now, to your point about the offensive lineman, I'll go back to my days in the UFL. There were so few offensive linemen available, and this is just like you mentioned, one of those things. So few offensive linemen available. They had different rushing rules. It wasn't quite like Pop Warner, but you could only rush. I want to say they would only allow a 3 or a 4-man rush on the offensive line in the UFL because you had defensive players. You had skill position players. What you never have are the offensive linemen. I hear you on that one. And I don't think that would change either. These big guys, there's only a few of them that can move like that from side to side. And once you find them, they're in the league for the rest of their lives until they can't play anymore and these dudes get carted off. I just like the XFL from the perspective now, guys, of being one of these leagues that while maybe it doesn't get co-opted fully by the NFL, will give players more of a runway to see if they're good. And I don't think it'll be for Jordan Love. Like, he probably won't ever get sent down to one of those teams. But you had a quarterback a couple of seasons ago that threw, 40 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. That's a spot where maybe he can try out. Maybe he can play in that league. Maybe that's something that he can do, which is exciting because, again, you get to see guys continue their career. And who knows, if it pops, they become PJ Walker or Josh McCown. He resurrected his career with us in the UFL too, and he ended up getting another 8-9 years.
Well, and John Kitna came out of Europe, NFL Europe, so I mean,
it's
possible. So yeah,
there's guys that can develop, and I think that if you are the general managers and owners, you want something like this. That's you absolutely want some concept like this so that you're out of this. Well, we got to draft these guys at these premium positions. We got to draft them so high in the draft. We got to use that capital, and then we don't really give them a chance to get better. They don't get to play on special teams. They don't get to kind of develop as time goes on and nobody really notices. Like, your success is tied to that. Quay Walker became a really good player at the end of the year. And I know he became infamous for some of this stuff he did outside of the whistle. But Quay Walker was the guy that developed, and you didn't really notice that he wasn't a hindrance on the team's success as he got to develop. But these quarterbacks are complete hindrances on the team, on their performance, on their outcomes, and that's for livelihood there. So those guys want to know that they can put a guy, let him develop, rather than we've got to draft this guy number 2 and we got to let him play. That's let's not overthink this draft right now. The kid out of Florida, the Richardson kid out of Florida, is just magnificent. But it's like, we got to make sure. Like, I'm from the outside in, I'm like, why are we even having this discussion? That guy's the number 1 draft pick in my mind in this draft. He is the most talented, the most electric. Like, don't ever discount when you see spectacular. But because of all these other things that he would for sure develop into a good player, we see guys like this Richardson guy's going to drop somewhere into the teens probably. You see Lamar Jackson gets drafted at the end of the first round. How can that even be? But it's because you have they can't take that risk. If those guys were any other position, they'd be in the top 10 because you can hide those guys and it won't hurt the immediate success of the team. So I would think these owners would really want something like this to make sure the premium position gets developed and we get more good players, because right now, if you don't have one of those top elite guys, then you can't win in this league. Of course, every owner will want to develop more of that position if possible.
Well, I think this is then segueing into a really good opportunity for general managers. They won't take it for the next couple of years for sure, because we don't have the sample size with the XFL. But once a few more Brian Gutekunsts of the world, Matt, to your point, and whomever else has to lose their job because they draft a quarterback in the first round that's a complete bustoid, then you might start seeing dudes being like, hey, you know what? Why don't we just let all the fucking quarterbacks go play in the XFL or the USFL? Take a look at them again against grownups, because I remember a large contingent of people and smart people telling me at the time, ooh, Johnny Manziel was going to be the next big thing. And all I had to tell him was this: Johnny Manziel skipped out on Peyton Manning's passing camp. That is not a quarterback that you want to have in your room. This guy is also not that fast. And in college, it looks really cool because you're playing with, again, the elite offensive lineman at one of the 6 schools that recruits these dudes.
He didn't give a fuck either, and he also had mommy's and daddy's money too. It was one of
It was
one of the worst draft picks of all time.
He wasn't that good, though.
No.
He just wasn't that good, and you could see that he just wouldn't be that good in the NFL.
Speaking of Jimmy Haslam.
Well, thank you very much. Speaking of Jimmy Haslam, if I'm a player, the one thing I do love about Jimmy Haslam is he just seems to be like, punch drunk with love, and he'll just give you the bag. So if I'm Giannis, I'm thinking, hey, maybe I get a franchise of Flying J's out of this or something. All right, Mike, let me do this. Let me transition us one more time. We're going to go full rotation. We started Packers. We've gone into some of the throws of, the XFL, USFL, and what that could mean to players that play for you guys at Northern State. Matt's got this new little wrinkle that he wants to roll out. 5 questions, and I don't know which questions he's going to ask you today. Are you prepared for these 5 questions?
I'm always prepared.
All right, Coach.
Let's do it. Rack it up.
I'm going to go through a couple that we did with Coach Janice and a couple with Joe on Monday.
Sure.
But I'm going to start with a new one with you, Coach. I guess we're probably never going to see you pull this in college, or at state. But when was the last time you did or witnessed a fumble rooski?
Little Giants 1992 on the big screen, probably.
No, never yourself, not personally, never done in high school, grade school, nothing like that down the line.
We used to have a play in flag football that was called the center sneak. So if you snap the ball between your legs and the quarterback touched the ball, the center could then run the ball. So I played center just to do the center sneak. Like that was the greatest play of all time, was the center sneak in flag football, because first of all, your hips are back. Guys can't get to your flags right away. So you got to be able to snap, and then you got to fight off wherever that guy's going to be at. You snap the ball up and then just try to run forward with the center sneak. So that was probably Phelan Park, Menominee, Wisconsin. That has to be 1997, probably somewhere in that ballpark is the last fumble rooski that I guess we ever played. But Ed O'Neill's fumble rooski call in Little Giants is one of the greatest moments in cinema history, when they run the fumble rooski and Ed O'Neill sees it from the sideline, aviator glasses on and all, and goes, fumble rooski. That is one of the greatest moments in any movie.
Oh, I love that.
That's awesome. It's a great story too. All right, Coach. Once again, there are no right or wrong answers. I'm not trying to get in any trouble. You have one choice. You have to either bungee jump off of a bridge, or you have to take a parachute out of an airplane. Which one are you going to do?
Man, those are like my 2 biggest fears. Like I'm not a big extreme sports guy or take risks guy anymore, because like, what a terrible way. Like, kids grow up without their dad because he had to go bungee jumping at 37 years old. Like, what point was that? Guy dies on the roller coaster, needs not enough life insurance money, and didn't make squat during his life for his wife and kids. So no, I'm kind of out on all those, but if I had to do one of them, I am probably going to parachute out of a plane.
So Janice said the same exact thing. First of all, he very, very much afraid of heights. And so he didn't like either of these options, but said about the jumping out of the plane versus the bungee jump, at least you have that tandem guy with you. So hopefully they're the professional. They can pull the ripcord and you're going to be fine. Also, if you do land, you're going to land on that person. Right.
True.
So there is a chance. I would fucking flip that guy. Are you kidding me? I'd be smashing him into the ground if I thought they're killing me going down there. I'm totally taking you out with me, or at least first. So I agree with that one. It's a hard one, because that's one of those choices where you're like, well, do I also get the gun? Is that the other thing too? Can you just shoot me now so that I don't have to go through this?
Well, my vertigo would kill me too, so I'd be jumping out of an airplane.
Right.
It'd be the up and down on the bungee jump that would probably get me on that one.
Yeah, probably.
All right, Coach. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, you know what? We've become really good. First of all, I got a bunch. So I got a whole I got a file in my notes on my phone that's karaoke songs. So if I'm driving and I hear a song and it hits me, I'm like, this is a good karaoke song. Let's keep it in the hopper. Morgan and I are big karaoke fans. We love doing it. Love going out and doing karaoke in Aberdeen. So I'm up for it all the time. But one thing that we've really we've kind of perfected, my wife and I, is singing Alanis Morissette Ironic. So she'll like sing the soft part, and she's a really good singer, and it's this cool thing. And then I just jump in and scream as loud as I can. It's like rain. And so we performed it for our team at the talent show this past fall camp to get it going a little bit. So that would be one that we could do anywhere. I've also I've done a lot of Elvis Kentucky Rain throughout, which is just not a very popular song, but it's a fun karaoke song to get her going. So yeah, I'm in on anything, man.
Okay, let me throw this out, because I don't know if you and Morgan are ever planning to go to Vegas by yourselves, but if so, there is a great bar/restaurant that's on Las Vegas Boulevard, but off the strip. It's called Bootlegger's Bistro, and it's an Italian place. Fantastic. All the best performers from Vegas go there to basically run roughshod over regular people doing karaoke and Morgan would fit in great. She could probably even bring her instrument because, see, this is the other thing Matt might not know. She was like a really talented musician and played instruments in a couple of bands around the area.
Yeah, she is a talented musician. She is very talented with, I mean, her big thing right now is the accordion. So, I mean,
really,
the accordion, we get her out at Oktoberfest. It's over.
What's up? So I've only messed around on an accordion a couple of times, and those are terrific instruments. It helps to know how to play piano. I'm not going to lie. That does have something to do with it. Okay. Continue, Matt. Right. Sorry, we can get off track with these things, but that's why it's fun.
Why we're doing it. We're trying to have some fun. I think I got one more left for you, Coach, and I'm not asking you to throw Whitney Center under the bus or your current dining hall, but is there one cafeteria food that you can't walk by and just not want to eat, or is there a food that your kids eat, like a corn dog? I mean, I'm guessing you love to eat, but is there just one thing that you see in a cafeteria line that you're like, I ain't ever touching that shit again?
That I'm not touching, that I'm
not going to eat.
That I'm not going to eat.
Probably a tougher question than what you will eat.
You don't get a body like this turning down food very often. So you're gonna, when you're committed to you're down with the thickness like I am. You are absolutely trying to grab as many calories as you can as you walk by. But there's a lot of stuff. Food kind of freaks me out. I don't. If like sushi is one thing that I have a hard time with in the middle of the country. Like, I'm eating sushi, this raw fish in Aberdeen or La Crosse. Like, I don't know how long has that been raw for. If I'm eating this thing raw, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But like, sushi is a thing that I love sushi. But I don't know how I feel about it eating it in the middle of the country, because I just think about how long it took to get there. So when I see like recycled food, that like the Salisbury steak became the meatloaf or things like that from the day before, night before, that's where I kind of draw the line.
You know, I don't want to talk negatively about a certain franchise's brand of chili. It's one of the most famous in the country. It's famously logoed by a young redheaded girl, or at least it was. Don't eat the chili. I've worked there before. Just don't do it. It really isn't something that you want to have to process yourself. I appreciate you being such a team player here and going through the new questions with us. I love this.
I do have one more for you, though, Coach. What's your favorite?
You keep saying one more. All right, sorry, one more.
5, okay. So to get to 5. What's your favorite non-sport movie?
Oh, yeah, good one.
My favorite non-sport movie. I think my favorite movie is still Forrest Gump. That is a movie that is one of those ones that's like one of my desert island movies, probably thing where I just love Forrest Gump. I love everything that it was about, tying in history. And then I guess it's kind of a sport movie.
I was going to say, you're talking about Alabama's famed running back. All right, now, because this has brought me into a rabbit hole, I've just got to go down it for one moment, because I'm with you. Forrest Gump, terrific movie. Great book, by the way. And the follow-up book, they almost made a movie out of, but then 9/11 happened. Tom Hanks didn't want to bum out America even more. But we don't have to get into that now. The thing that fucking bothers me about Forrest Gump is this. How in the world did one of the most famous men in the country, the founder of one of the largest companies in the country, a star player for a national championship team under Bear Bryant, somebody who met the president numerous times, get called some guy from Alabama when he was running across the country? Who the fuck thinks that journalists are that stupid? Because that's the big miss for me.
Tell me how you really feel, Dave.
He's this unknown guy. I'm like, he's one of he's a war hero. He was the first American to go to China with Richard China. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, every single newscaster in the country would have been making their careers off of following that guy. And it never sat well with me. This unknown guy from blah, blah, blah. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Everybody knows who he is. He's one of the most famous men in the country.
Yeah, we probably would have canceled Forrest Gump for running across the country and trying to be, really humble. Like, there would have been some ulterior motive that we would have canceled Forrest Gump for at that time. Somebody would have been unhappy.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody would have been really unhappy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson definitely would have had a problem with that if that was going on right now.
Well, the appropriation of Jesus culture would have gotten to him because of his beard. So, I mean, there would have been that. All right. Anyways, Forrest Gump, great movie. The second book about Forrest Gump, if you thought his kid was cute and was going to make it, don't read that book. That's all I'm going to say. Don't read that book. Mike, I love you. You look fantastic. Handsome as ever. Enjoy the rest of your recruiting trip, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Sound like a plan?
I appreciate you guys. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Feel better, Coach. Thanks.
Go Wolves.
Thanks, guys.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
At the Little Doobie's Pizza, we kill 2 stone birds with 1 rock every time with our hand-rolled Doobie Deluxe for only $49.95. That's a street value of over $75.
No way!
The Doobie Deluxe is a hand-rolled 18-inch pizza that will blow your bone-resined mind.
Whoa!
Topped with the sausage, black olives, extra cheese, and about a half ounce of the finest kush at east side of San Bernardino.
Dude, give me another slice.
Because at Little Doobie's Pizza, we put a little TLC in our THC.
And right now, for a limited time only, get an order of crazy cannabis bread for only $10 with an order of a Doobie Deluxe at the street value of over $22.50.
You know what we said at Little Doobie's Pizza? Why get stoned then eat when you can do both at the same time?
Doobies.
Oh, I want to send a shout out this morning to our buddy Johnny Wodzinski from Stack's Family Farms, who procures and propagates some of the finest hemp products in the state of Wisconsin, making your favorite Delta 9 THC gummies, which are available for sale downstairs at the Recovery Room, open today at 11. Matt, it is Wing Wednesday at the Recov. Yesterday, had a couple of people come in that joined me for lunch last week that, listen, I sold them on our special last week. They couldn't wait for Wing Wednesday. They wanted to try the wings. They went some garlic parm. They went honey sriracha habanero, and they also did some flatline sauce on the side. Oof. Very adventurous couple. Very adventurous. Well, today, wings and a pitcher of beer. I think we have that for $15. Is it 14 or 15?
14 right now.
$14.
Coors Light or PBR with a pound of wings.
So a pound of wings, Coors Light, PBR, just $14. Great deal. Open at 11. And again, the Stack's Family Farms, Delta 9 THC gummies down there, Johnny Wad with these great hats. Nash just got his hat. P12 Foreman was checking in with us yesterday, and he was just going crazy for these hats. He looked at them the other night with Nash, and they were going over the size of it and the height of it and the fit of it. And, just these guys knew more about trucker caps than I ever thought possible. And to both of those men, if you're watching this morning, well played, because that was like a sommelier of trucker hats.
And I do enjoy both of those gentlemen's as friendships and everything else. But when those two get together, I'm fucking walking away. There's no way I'm getting involved in that conversation.
It's much too entertaining to walk away from that.
You're not going to get a word in anyways.
Much too entertaining. I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with you on that one and say.
Sorry for me. That just makes me anxious just thinking about it, my friend.
Okay. And I'm much more of what might you say, a rabble rouser. I just want to poke that thing and watch it sort of like a beehive. I want to see it just get all nuts. All right. I want to update our audience members this morning, Matt, that are watching us on YouTube, on both our Facebook channels, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. Our poll question is asking, for the first time since the Packers don't seem to be all in, according to Brian Gutekunst anyways, yesterday at the Combine, with Aaron Rodgers coming back, do you think the Packers really want Aaron Rodgers back? Because that was the question that was actually posed to Brian Gutekunst. 84.6% of respondents on our Twitter feed say no. When I take a look over at our Facebook group page, 57 to 43 say no. It feels like, and again, we brought this up with Mike Schmidt this morning, and we began our conversation with that slide up, and I'll pull it up again for those that didn't see exactly what Brian Gutekunst had to say. It feels like for the first time in a really long time, Green Bay is truly contemplating the end of this particular relationship with Rodgers and looking ahead to what the future could be. Brian Gutekunst went on to talk about Jordan Love and said he is ready to play. We've seen over the last year to year and a half, so this is something more recent, that he has made that next step. We heard a couple of weeks ago Aaron Jones talking about Jordan Love and saying, this dude is ready to go. We believe in him. For the first time, it feels like the Packers are ready to move on. Now, I'm still not 100% sure that the Packers do move on from Rodgers. I feel like it's a more likely prospect than not. But when you consider all the money that Rodgers is scheduled to make, the Packers really only have one more year of this being an onerous cap hit if they decide to move off of him after this upcoming season and he plays for Green Bay, say, for example, then they wouldn't be in really any financial hardship. So I could still see Rodgers coming back for 1 year, but it feels like for the first time, dude, they're really ready to say, look, if you don't want to play here and you don't want to be part of this thing, we've got options, right? We've got options and we can move on.
When there's smoke, obviously there's usually fire. And this seems just getting to that point where I don't even know if he wanted to come back. Who wants to play with him? What's the environment going to be? And this is the health of the organization. That's the way I'm looking at this as a long term. Obviously, Gutekunst is going to have to do what he's got to do. It's his job to make sure that the team's going to be better. The organization's going to be better. He has to do what's for the best for the healthiness of this team. And even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, I can only imagine what that locker room, half those guys would be like, this motherfucker, I don't want to play for him. And if there's one offensive lineman that has to do his job, I'm just saying that's
possible.
There's so many egos in that locker room. And they're going to be like, this motherfucker isn't that much better than me. Granted, he might be a Hall of Famer, but we're doing this together as a team. Why? Russell Wilson had an office with the fucking Denver Broncos last year. Why? You should have a locker room. Locker, not an office. And with Aaron, watch it. That's all I got to say. I'm wasting too much oxygen on this motherfucker.
I think that Rodgers, as a player, is still somebody that other players can be fine with having because he's good. But
as long as you're winning.
But as good starts to turn into okay, and okay starts to turn into what the fuck, then you start to get a little bit salty because what you don't want is somebody side-eyeing you from the field when they aren't making the plays necessary.
Right.
And you don't want them to look at you like, hey, it's all your fault. That's something that Rodgers has gotten, I think.
Look at it as dominoes or snowballs because eventually he's going to piss off somebody. And once that goes, it only goes downhill. And once a domino effect, ting, 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 it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I don't know that Green Bay's players would really care too much if they could get a quarterback like Rodgers under center, somebody who could really sling it as long as they're winning. But I hear what you're saying. And look, I think for what it's worth, if the Packers and Rodgers do make this thing work out for this year, it wouldn't be the biggest of all surprises. It wouldn't be like the most shocking thing ever. But it does feel like, again, for the first time, and Joe DeGuano's for the first time sort of on this trajectory as well, that Green Bay is okay with moving on if they have to.
I hope they trade him to the Redskins just so Daniel Snyder and him can fucking duke it out.
Well, that would be interesting because the Redskins don't exist anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That would be.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The Washington Commanders.
Commanders, yes.
How could you forget such a terrible name?
Oh, man.
The Commanders.
Yep.
We've got the Guardians in Cleveland and the Commanders.
Yep.
And the other thing with that, the Guardians, that was an XFL name, I think, or an AAF name or an AFL team.
AFL team.
It was the AFL New York Guardians. That was such a bad pick. All right, so Foreman listening and watching us this morning is asking a question. Did he get his Stax Family Farms hat delivered yet? No, it hasn't arrived. He also went on to say that he and Nash are the perfect duel, but then wanted to make sure he corrected it and said duo.
Ace and Gary or Batman and Robin. I'm not really sure.
I'm thinking more like the Odd Couple, right? Like, Jack Lemmon and Mathis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We've got a Facebook user checking in saying this: Rodgers being a commie would be priceless. Hello, Joey. Rodgers being a commie would be priceless. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers does go to another team, which team he ends up going for, how this would work out for him. I think that, again, his best play, if he's really, really, truly concerned about a legacy, is to just stay in Green Bay. Do this thing one more year. The Packers would suck it up. They would take him. He's owed a boatload of fucking money.
Ton of money.
So they would suck it up. They'd take it for another year. But at the same time, if he started to show any flaws or any weaknesses, then you just go ahead and bench him and you put Jordan Love in. That's just what you do.
How do you bench a $50 million quarterback?
Well, easy. If you know that they're not playing good, you say that's it and we got to go. I mean, there's at a certain point, you'd have to be able to call that and just say this is what it is and it's over. All right, little preview for tomorrow here on the program, guys and gals. We'll be speaking with ESPN 105.5's John Papadopoulos at 8:30. I'll be joining John on his program, The Sports Lead on ESPN tomorrow at 5. Again, The Sports Lead is every single Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. On Friday, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate will be joining us. We'll talk some sports betting. We'll talk some football. We'll talk some basketball. Matt, again, Recov open at 11. It's Wing Wednesday. Going to be a good day to come on down and get yourself some lunch, maybe some dinner. Have a great day. We'll see you guys in the morning. Peace.